Well, welcome once again to another edition of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. We're so glad you joined us today. I'm Tom. I'm here with my beautiful wife, Michelle.
Aw, thank you, sweetie. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. You found us today. Find us in the future on SoundCloud. You can find us on Stitcher. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play Music. And if you go on those sites, it would be helpful if you give us just a quick little review and tell people, hey, this is a pretty good podcast. We kind of like it. You might like it too if you're a Disney fan just like us.
Right. And we really would appreciate that. And we also really enjoy when we're getting the feedback that we've been receiving, what kind of things you want us to talk about and what kind of things we haven't done quite as well as you might have wanted.
Maybe a few too many things, but we love hearing from you either way. We want this to be an interactive show. We've said it many times, and we continue to believe that. You can contact us many ways on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook and Instagram at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Email us at HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com, and you can also find us on the web. You can leave a comment there, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. So many of you out there that got us started. We really appreciate you. You guys are our OG Hyperion Adventures, and we want to hear from you, who you are, where you're listening to us from. There's so many cities. I look on it and I see these great places in Mississippi, Virginia, New Jersey, Massachusetts, South Carolina, of course, California, even other countries. We're global, Canada, Great Britain, Brazil, France. Where are you listening to us? We want to hear from you so we know who our family is.
Right. And we really want to recognize our OGs
That's
group,
right.
And we're coming to the cutoff of what we're going to consider somebody to be an OG. We still want people to feel part of the family. But
right.
Those original people who kind of got us going here, we really want to thank you and show our appreciation.
And that's the thing. See, coming up here, we have something big coming up that we're going to announce next week, actually. That's why we're cutting off this thing on August 31st, is because we want to know who you people are that started us from the ground level. We have something else that's coming up that we think is going to boost our listenership by a bit. So we want to know who you people are so we can really love you. We love everybody out there, all our listeners. We love you all. But those people that first started us off, listened to us when no one really knew us from anything, we really appreciate you so much. So please, 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 please send us a note. Let us know who you are, and you may get a little something surprise in the mail from us. We'll let you know. So we're cutting that off again, August 31st. And again, next week, we're going to have a little announcement on how this show is going to expand a little bit.
Very exciting news. I know.
Suspense, a little excitement. So, anyways, like I said, you can contact us any of those ways I listed before, and we'll list them again probably within the show and definitely near the end of the show if you missed it the first time. So on to our main topic of the week, and boy, what a big week this is coming up here today. By the way, is Sunday, August 19th, 2018. That's when we're recording this. Coming up this coming Thursday on August 23rd at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, tickets for the 2019 D23 Expo go on sale, and we want to tell you exactly why. If you're a Disney fan, this is something you need to look into going to.
Right. And we went last year. Excuse me. Oh, yeah, I guess it was last year. Right. And I wasn't even sure at first. I've gone to Comic-Con and loved that, but wasn't sure about the D23, if it was just going to be a little too narrow of a focus. But I became a believer. I drank the Kool-Aid, and I'm excited for us to be talking about it today.
It is such a cool thing. And let's get down to the details of next year's D23 Expo to begin with, just to get us started off. So it takes place from Friday, August 23rd, 2019 to Sunday, August 25th, 2019 at the Anaheim Convention Center. So actually pretty close to Disneyland. So you can plot out a whole trip of going there, doing this thing, and maybe spending a couple extra days at Disneyland as well to make, if you're coming from someplace farther away, you can say, hey, this is going to be our summer vacation for next year. So here's what they released a bunch of stuff this week as far as the ticket prices and some announcement as far as like the Masquerade, which they've had in the past, which is kind of a cosplay costume show where there's a prize awarded at the end.
It's
really cool.
Incredible what these people, work they put into their cosplay is phenomenal. It is awesome.
Yeah, the Disney cosplay at this is worth it just for that. Even if you end up not going in, go outside and just watch the people dressed up. It's amazing. Really, really cool stuff. They also announced that there's a design award going out there. I guess it's going to be based on the Haunted Mansion, which we decided is going to be the 50th anniversary next year. So they'll be celebrating that with a design. And I believe the prize is something like $2,500 for the person that comes up with the design they like the most out of that. So
nice.
Anyway, but let's get down to actually attending this event. It comes up. We talked to you last week about being a gold and gold family member of D23 and what the advantages might be. One thing we left out is the discounts you get if you go to the D23 Expo. Well, there's some other stuff that we'll talk about later as well. But the discounts you get as far as tickets, if you're going to buy a ticket for the 3 days, all 3 days of the event, which I totally recommend, but I understand if you can only make it for a day, whatever. The early bird tickets for adults, that's for all 3 days, $177 per piece. After November 20th, they are $219. So if you're thinking about doing this, you want to do it as early as possible. By the way, these tickets will sell out. It's not like Comic-Con, though, where they sell out within an hour or so. At least not like last year. But they did sell out last year eventually. Right. So just keep that in mind. And I can't promise you they won't sell out quickly this year. But just from what we've seen in the past, they won't sell out that quickly. So it gives you a few days to decide. You don't necessarily have to be there right at 10 a.m. on this Thursday to get them. On to the other 3-day tickets. Children's tickets from ages 3 to 9 years old. Early birds are $125. After November 20th, that's $164. 1-day tickets for gold and gold family members. If you just want to pick one day, if you want to go Saturday, Friday, Sunday, whatever. Each one, or if you want to go 2 days, $67 a piece is what they are. $67 early birds after November 20th, $79. Children, early bird, $49 after November 20th, $59. So that's what you get on as well if you're a gold or gold family member. So you get a bit of a discount because now I'm going to go to the people that are not members, what you have to pay if you want to go. And that's perfectly fine. You can go to this thing. You don't need to be a D23 gold or gold family member. There are some perks with it, but you don't need to be one. A 3-day ticket for adults, $249. There's no early bird. It's just, that's the price. $249 for adults for 3-day ticket. Children 3 to 9, $185. So you see the discount difference there. If you're an early bird with a gold member, it's $177 for the 3-day tickets. For adults, for non-members, it's $249. So we're talking a $70 discount there. That's basically the price of becoming a gold member. I mean, obviously it's per person.
Right.
But that's a huge discount. 1-day tickets for adults, $89. For children, 3 to 9, that is $69. And there's one other ticket possibility out there for those of you that really want to do this thing all out. And believe me, there are a lot of perks that go with this and a lot of front-of-the-line things, and you can read all up on the site, d23.com. The Sorcerer's tickets, which always get the front and center. They're always let in. They are always acknowledged by people. It's pretty funny when you go there. They say, hey, where are my sorcerers at? Right. Well, it's because they paid $2,500 a ticket. But anyways, those will sell out. Believe it or not, at $2,500 a ticket, those will sell out fairly quickly. So if you're thinking about, you want to splurge, you want to go all out on this thing, you may want to look into getting that. And you can only buy that if you are a gold or a gold family member.
Just want to point out, too, to get the discount, one person in your party needs to be a gold member. You don't have to have everybody in your party be a gold member to get the gold member discounts.
Right. So that's like we talked about last week. And if you go back to last week's episode, you can learn more about it. Gold member, just a regular gold member, that will cover you and one guest. If you're a gold family member, that covers you and 3 guests. So if you're going as just a couple or a couple friends, whatever, one gold member will cover 2 people. A gold family member will cover you, your spouse, and your 2 children, or 3 other friends, however you want to put it together. But it's advantageous, and there's more advantages that we will talk about later on. That being a gold or a gold family member when you actually go to the expo, we will break. As a matter of fact, we're going to pretty much just tell you today why this is a great event. Later on, as we get nearer to it, we're going to give you some tips on how to navigate it, how to take advantage of everything there. But it's a little early for that now. So we're just going to tell you what we experienced, why we liked it, and why we think you'll like it.
Right. And like you said, as we get closer to the event, we can talk about the planning. But we really want to just share with you our passion for this and hopefully, kind of get you hyped up about it, that you might consider if you haven't, or if you've gone before, that, maybe you can get back with us on some of the things that you might want to share with us of what you found great about that expo.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. And if you do have questions for us, of course, you can email us or hit us up on social media. And again, I'll go through all those later on in the show. Here's what we experienced at last year's, the 2017 D23 Expo, which was magnificent. Let's break it down, first of all, what you have going on there. Every day there are two big panels, which are you think of, if you know Comic-Con at all, Hall H, the big panels, the ones that everybody wants to make it into. That's Hall D23 at the D23 Expo. And their panels consist of, at least this is what they've done in the past, and we assume something similar will be next year. Friday morning, there's always a morning and an afternoon panel. Disney Legends. Their induction into the Disney Legends was Friday morning, and then the afternoon was the animation panel. So everything doing with Walt Disney Animation, Pixar, etc., was that afternoon. Saturday, they opened it up with the live action movies, so Marvel, Star Wars. They did Mary Poppins Returns last year. Wrinkle in Time was a big thing for last year, and that was the morning panel. Then the afternoon panel is the parks panel, which is really cool because they announce a lot of interesting stuff about what's going to be happening at the various different parks, what they're opening up, what they're conceiving, how they're changing things. It's really cool stuff. And then they finished it up on Sunday. Sunday's kind of a funky little day that, some people can't stay for the whole thing because maybe they have flights out, or whatever the case may be. But what they had last year, which was amazingly cool, and it wasn't a morning panel, it was kind of an afternoon and a later afternoon. It was Alan Menken, A Whole New World, where he goes and just went out and performed this bit, telling stories and singing his classic songs from his whole oeuvre. Disney,
which are so many.
Yeah.
That was so phenomenal to me, is just thinking, I know that he's done a lot of songs, but the more and more he played, it's like, oh my God, he's done that one. Oh wow, he did that one.
It's an amazing show. I'm hoping he's going to do it again. I don't know what they're planning for this year. I don't know if they're going to do that again, but either way, that was very cool. So they have those, and then but if you don't want to make the big panels can be kind of tough to get into. Although the one advantage they have there over what Comic-Con does is when you go to Hall H and Comic-Con to go see the big panels, they let you in and they don't let other people in until people decide to leave. That's not the case for at least what it's been in the past for Hall D23. After each panel, they empty the room out, and new people that are waiting in line or people that want to go get back in line are let in up until it reaches capacity. So even if you don't make the morning panel, there's a good chance if you don't mind waiting, you can make the afternoon panel. Or if you want to wait overnight and make the morning panel, so be it, or get there super, super early. Right. We'll discuss more of that when we get to navigating this at another future episode. But it really is beneficial as opposed to Hall H, which can be really tough to get into for Comic-Con.
Right, yeah. I mean, that was one of the great perks that we really liked last time, too, is, otherwise you're just, if you don't make it in, and then it's just onesie-twosies get in later on. This is great that it gives a broader experience for people who haven't been able to get there for the first show.
But don't think that it's just those big panels that make up D23. No, there's other smaller panels that can vary in how tough they are to get into. There's D23 Expo Arena, which is like the second biggest panel. Some of the big names show up there for some things. There's Stage 28. And again, I'm going back with what they did last year, which is kind of current Disney going on, like they had DuckTales there and some other things, and some past Disney as well, as kind of looking back at a few things. And then there's the Walt Disney Archive stage, which is classic Disney, looking back at Imagineering, looking back at classic animation, all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in any of those things, you can go to these panels as well. And then there's always the actual main floor where they have showcases from Pixar, Marvel. They had huge set up last time. This is the first time we got to see a scale model of what Galaxy's Edge was going to look like, and it was incredible to go out there. And they had some of the Imagineers there that you could ask questions to as you're going through, and it was fantastic. They had a Walt Disney Archives area, which I believe this coming in 2019, I believe is probably going to be the Haunted Mansion, because it's 50th anniversary. This last time it was Pirates all the way through for many years. So it was a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean and such like that. They also have, of course, they have a main center stage where different performers go and show up and perform different things. Like we saw, or at least I saw, I think you were waiting in line.
Right.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Saw Susan Egan perform out there, who you may know as Meg from the Hercules movie, but also she was the original Belle for Broadway's version of Beauty and the Beast, and she put on a great show. And they have other performers. They put on like these 40-minute shows. They're really fantastic. And they also have like a parade that goes through.
Right. I know. They do have a parade, and they have a master of ceremonies. Each day is a different person, and it just kind of goes around the whole, I think about a huge like ballroom or whatever. And that's always fun. I happened on one of them one day that I wasn't really expecting to be there. I think I was going to find out some information about something, and it was like, what a really awesome surprise to be watching this parade go by.
Yeah, so
it's very cool.
They usually have them once or twice a day, right. And they go through, and there's usually characters involved. Like we saw Minnie, and we saw Goofy, and a bunch of the cast members going through, and there's balloons, and it's just a lot of fun. Yes, it's called the Ultimate Fan Street Party, and they had like grand marshals they had last year. Mark Hamill, who was one of the Disney legends from last year, and another one was Jordan Fisher, who you may know from various Disney stuff, but he was also the winner of Dancing with the Stars.
Right, that's the one I saw.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. And he was also in Hamilton, but
what?
Not that I know anything about Hamilton, but here's the stuff that we saw when we were there. So we went. We didn't even try and make the Legends panel, although from what I understand, we could have made that in pretty easily. But we did go the first day to the animation panel, and man, was that cool. We got to see stuff from Incredibles 2. The cast came out. We got to see a first clip of spoiler alert, Jack versus the raccoon. We got to see a little bit of clip from Olaf's Frozen Adventure, which was coming out that winter. With Kristen Bell came out there, Anna, right. to announce it, and then Josh Gad came out and sung the song as Olaf.
That was just too cool.
We had the clip from Ralph Breaks the Internet that everybody's seeing now. You're pretty much seeing a lot of this clip. Not everything is out there yet, but the princess scene that's coming in parts of the trailers, that was first shown to us at the animation, and believe me, it brought the house down. Watching this, it was so funny when we first saw it. And then they brought out all the living Disney princesses on stage, because all of the people that are still alive that voiced these princesses originally are voicing them in Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah, it was incredible to see that. I mean, that's really what's great about this is, you don't really know what they're going to be bringing to you, but it's going to be an awesome show, and I love Comic-Con, but I think Comic-Con, you kind of know what you're going to get. And here it's just surprise. And
it's cool. I mean, they take your phone, or they don't take your phone. They make you bag up your phone so you can't shoot anything. So you feel like, ooh, this is really just for us. It's really cool. No one else is going to see this for a while. And it did. It took almost a year before this footage of this princess stuff came out, but we were like, wow, this was amazing. So we saw that, and then they finished it all up, because coming out in winter was their big movie, which was Coco. And they finished it up talking about it. They had Anthony Gonzalez, who plays Miguel, and Benjamin Bratt come out, and they sang Remember Me, and they had mariachis, and they had traditional Mexican dancers in the aisles, and then we were rained down marigolds from the ceiling on top of us.
I'm getting choked up thinking about it again.
It was so fun. It was a cool way to finish it out, and we got a poster when we left from it.
Right.
It was really cool.
Laminated poster. Yeah, it was beautiful.
It was really, really a cool thing. And a lot of times in these panels, you do walk away with a little something afterwards. I'll talk more about that too. We didn't make it to the live action stuff, but they did the next morning. They had an issue. Like, we tried to get there early enough to do it, but they had an issue the day before, where they had a problem with some people that showed up that they told were going to be able to make it into the animation panel, but didn't make it in. So they gave them, here's a fast pass to go into the live action the next day. So they cut it off earlier than normal. If you had spent the night there, or at least late enough to get a wristband, you were fine. But not, and that was just a rare occurrence. That doesn't usually happen. That was weird. But anyways, they did a lot of stuff on Marvel, including Black Panther, Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, as I talked about earlier, Mary Poppins Returns, and Wrinkle in Time, and the casts were there. And really cool stuff, even though I didn't get to see it, but from what I understand, really cool stuff. We did, however, make it into the parks panel last year, and that I don't know. I'm not sure what was my favorite, whether it was the animation panel or the parks panel, because the parks panel was pretty darn cool, don't you think?
I do. I think it was. That is a tough decision to say which one was better. Because they were both really awesome.
So here's just a few of the things they announced so much stuff at this, but here's just a few of the things they announced at last year's Parks panel, just to kind of give you an idea of what you might see in 2019's D23 Expo. They announced that Star Wars Land. They announced it officially named Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Right. They gave us the official name at that panel. They gave us more details about Galaxy's Edge, that one of the rides was going to be the Resistance versus the First Order, and you were going to be taking part of that. And then the other ride, I mean, a lot of this was rumored, but this is where they confirmed it officially, that you'd be able to fly the Millennium Falcon, which is still like, I get tingles just thinking about the ability to do that every day. So.
Less than a year.
By the way, we had a Facebook post from Robert, one of our OG Hyperion Adventurers, that says, because I mentioned, actually it was in 2015, I posted out that it was when they first announced at the D23 Expo that there was going to be a Star Wars Land, a Galaxy's Edge. And he said, I said, am I the only one that's learning Arabesh, which is Star Wars language, if you don't know, so I can read everything on these walls and everything? Right? I'm like, no, we're going to do that too. And it's so cool. Anyway, other things that the other thing that I loved about that they announced about Galaxy's Edge was that you may remember from the original Star Tours, there was a captain there that just could never quite get it right, Captain Rex. Well, he's apparently going to be in the middle of Galaxy's Edge, and he is going to be a DJ. DJ Rex is what they're going to have in the nightclub there, and that was kind of fun news for me because I love Rex. They also announced, they confirmed that there would be the Star Wars themed hotel that was going to be happening in Walt Disney World. They officially announced that the outer space restaurant that's going to be in Epcot, they confirmed that, even though that had been rumored for a little while too. They confirmed that. They confirmed that the Tron coaster at Magic Kingdom Park was going to happen. They confirmed the Gondola Skyway at Walt Disney World, which we keep seeing getting closer and closer to fruition. Right. Every time we go out there, we see that another tower's up. The main bases are there. I've seen some pictures recently where it looks like, I know it's not ready to go anywhere near yet, but it almost looks like it could start tomorrow. They announced the minivans there.
That's right. They had one there.
Right in the middle of the floor, they had a minivan. The first peek we got to see at the minivans, and then they announced that, hey, these things are going to be happening at Walt Disney World. They announced that there would be a 7th Disney cruise ship there. We knew 6 going in.
Right.
They announced that not only are there going to be 6, there's going to be 7 coming up in for Disney Cruise Line. They hinted at Marvel Land, which now has been confirmed. Marvel Land at Disneyland Resort at the California Adventure Park. They kind of hinted at it, like, we may have something coming up here. They didn't specifically say what it was or where it was going to be, but they said this. We're not done with Marvel. After they did Mission Breakout at California Adventure Park.
Right. And when they're making all these announcements, it's not just like somebody standing up there announcing it. They're showing you images all on their big screens of what things are going to look like. So imagine seeing what the hotel where you're totally immersed in being in outer space is going to look like. And, the minivans, of course, they had one there on the floor as well, that you could see these vans that you could take. Their, Lyft is the organization they paired with, but these are vans that are decorated like Minnie Mouse.
Yeah, so cute.
They are too cute, and they'll take you around, either from your resort to the parks or from resort to resort, as long as you're on the property there. And now they're actually going out to the airport as well.
Yeah, they've really expanded. I think I've heard that they're also moving it to where you can take them to Port Canaveral to the cruise ship as well.
Nice.
So it really has been a success so far, and the minivan project has really done well.
Right.
They finished the whole thing off with one of the most heart-touching stories I think I've ever heard from the parks, and I think I know it touched you a lot.
It
did.
Maybe
you might want to tell the listeners what it was.
Sure. So they did they read a letter. And I'm going to try to say this without getting choked up, but I can't guarantee. So they read a letter that somebody wrote to the Disney company, and they were describing that they have an autistic child that they brought to Disney and Disney World. And the one thing that this child said he wanted was a green balloon.
More than anything else.
More than anything. That's, yeah.
I have to have a green balloon.
Right. So, the parents like, okay, let's wait till the end when we're leaving and we'll bring the balloon home. And so it was time to leave the park, and they could not find a green.
You're getting choked up. It's great. Yeah.
They couldn't find a green balloon anywhere. And they kept going to different balloon vendors and couldn't find it. So finally, the mom, the child was actually getting pretty upset. So the mom went around to try to talk to people, see what she could find out. And she went to one of the balloon vendors, and that person took the time to go in the back and blow up a green balloon to bring to that child, and it just made that kid's day.
Save their vacation, essentially, is what she said.
Right?
In this email.
And actually, the dad wrote the letter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And so, because he was very impressed with, how this all turned out. And so they're reading this letter. They actually read the letter from the dad, and then suddenly, the room filled with people carrying hundreds of green balloons, and they gave them out to all of us.
Right. So you took it back home with you. And
I did.
Put it in your office, and actually it's lasted longer than any Mickey-eared green balloon.
There was
or
something
any
very
balloon
magical about it.
Yeah, it was so cool.
But the fun thing, too, now is anytime I'm at the park and I'm seeing a balloon vendor, I look for green balloons, and they are pretty rare.
Yeah, it's amazing that you don't see them as much as you would think. But
right.
Yeah, we always do after that story, look for the green balloon. Where is it? But it was so great, and just a really touching way to finish this thing, and it just really made you feel good about Disney and everything, and the park people and the cast members and what they do to help these people out, when to make sure that their vacation is as good as it possibly can.
Right. And going above and beyond
absolutely.
Just to make sure,
Absolutely.
Because easily they could have just, everybody could have just said, no, we just can't help you. We don't have any more green balloons. It was the end of the day, but somebody really took the initiative and, showed the Disney spirit to this family. And like you said, it really made their vacation.
Right. And as I also said, you walked out with the green balloon, but that wasn't the only thing you walked out of that panel with. Everybody that was in that panel also got a fast pass, a reserved area to go watch Fantasmic, which was just debuting. It wasn't scheduled to debut until Monday. The people that were in this panel on Saturday could go and see a preview of the reimagined Fantasmic at Disneyland Resort, at Disneyland Park, on the Saturday or the Sunday, one or the other. There's 4 shows, and you got a reserved area to go watch this. So that was one of those special perks that you got by just being at this panel. So, like I said, you walk away with cool stuff, but the story, that made it.
Right.
The story was everything.
Yes.
It was just really cool, and that's the kind of stuff that you can expect when you go. Other things we went to when we were there, we went to see Melodies in Walt's Time. That was at the D23 Expo Arena, and that was moderated by Whoopi Goldberg. It basically focused on the music from the Disney live-action movies kind of in the middle of the century, in the 60s mostly, like Mary Poppins, of course, but a few other of them, and they kind of came out there and they performed a lot of the songs, and they had some of the stars of the movies come out and talk about what it was like making them, and it was pretty cool. And then Richard Sherman made an appearance, kind of walked out at the end.
I know.
It was really, really cool. And then speaking of Richard Sherman, the next night we went to A Kiss Goodnight with Richard Sherman and also another Disney legend, Floyd Norman, who, was an animator forever with Walt Disney. And that was cool because we got to go through a lot of the music and telling stories of what it was like, working with Walt and such. And
very touching.
Just really cool. And then on Sunday, we went to see, it was the 20-year anniversary of Hercules. So we went and saw Zero to Hero, the making of Hercules, because we love that movie. We think it's a very underrated movie, as a matter of fact. And they had Tate Donovan there, who was Herc. Susan Egan as Meg was there. Ron Clements and John Musker, who were the directors. And you may know them. They've done so many Disney movies, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Moana, The Princess and the Frog. They were all there, and they kind of explained, and there's some animators there and everything. And they kind of explained what went into this, including their trip to Greece to go look at a lot of this stuff. And they took so many pictures and made so many drawings and stuff for when they were there, and it was just kind of fun. And finished it up with Susan Egan as Meg singing "I Won't Say I'm in Love," and it was fun.
Great performance.
Fun. So those are the other kind of panels that we went to. There were other panels there that we didn't quite make it to because we were either seeing these panels or just doing other things. But like they had the celebration of the Lion King. Celebrating an anniversary, and that I know they talked about the whole making of it, and that finished up. We were outside waiting in line for something else, and we saw that they came out. A lot of the performers from the Lion King came and filled the halls and sang at the end and everything, and that was great. The Power of the Princess, which was a kind of a panel with the princesses. We talked about how the princesses were there on stage for the animation panel. Well, they did this panel as well. They showed up there and talked about that. DuckTales, I already talked about that. DuckTales was just about to debut on Disney Channel, the new reimagined DuckTales with the cast now, so they had a panel on that. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Search for the Lost Disney Cartoons, 80th anniversary screening of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They took one in their theaters for the 80th anniversary, and they had a screening. Then other panels, they had the Ink and Paint, the Women of Walt Disney's Animation, Evolution of Pixar, just so many different types of panels. So if you don't make the big panels, there are all these other cool things to go to.
Right. And so many other cool things, can I mention pins?
Oh, you can mention pins. By the way, shopping is a big thing, but we'll start with pins.
Right. So if you're a Disney pin lover, this is a gold mine place to get some real good treasures, and the prices are phenomenal. I think I went back there multiple times every day just to, make some final decisions on which ones I was going to get, but that was amazing.
Yeah, if you're a pin trader, they have a lot. I mean, they have all these limited edition pins and everything you can buy for their regular price. Some that they're not out there anymore. You can find them, but they also have a lot of the smaller little pins that you can pick up for like $1 a piece, $2 a piece, $3, $5. Either way, it's cheaper than what if you were to buy these pins at the park, and then they're great as you want to trade up through. These little pins you bought for $1 that you don't really intend on keeping. But if you like to trade, it's great rather than purchasing a pin for anywhere from $10 to $15, even more dollars than trying to trade that. It's really a great way to kind of advance your pin trading and get you started off for not much money, because some of these can be very expensive. They also, like I said, we talked about the scale model of the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. The Walt Disney Archives exhibit, we talked about the pirates. It was A Pirate's Life for Me, Disney Rascals, Scoundrels, and Really Bad Eggs. That was a cool thing to walk through. And, the panels, the showcases from Marvel, Pixar, Walt Disney Animation, and the Disney Music Emporium, if you're looking for Disney music. The Disney Channel, Disney XD, Disney Junior, where they actually had Scrooge McDuck's money bin that you can wait in line and then you can go take a dive into Scrooge McDuck's treasure bin. It was kind of fun. So, lots of cool. There's just so much stuff to take in there. It's really, really cool.
They also had autograph sessions for, people. And it was just so funny. I've always been a big admirer of Dave Smith, and finally got to meet him and get his autograph in one of his books. And I just realized I was so awestruck that I was speechless,
Happens.
And then one of the other ones that was surprising to me was, I just kind of ran into it, was that Marty Sklar was autographing some artwork. And that's what, I was just so thrilled that I took the time to, get that artwork and him autograph it. And he was incredibly warm. He was very, he didn't know me, and he just started talking and describing things and trying to, drum up a conversation. So, and it really became so much more meaningful when just a few weeks after that, that he did pass away. So there are a lot of other things of, people who have other interests that can really get some fun out of D23 Expo.
Right. So anyway, as I said before, there's something for everybody there, whether it's the big panels, the smaller panels. It's exciting when the schedule comes out. It's not going to be for nearly a year now, but there is, if you're a Disney fan, believe me, this is the mecca of Disney stuff. I mean, it's everything: Marvel, Star Wars, Disney animation, past, present, future, parks, cruise line, everything is there. It is really cool, and I can't recommend it enough. I think you said you didn't necessarily buy into it to begin with, but I think you came out a believer, right?
Exactly. And, you're around people who are really positive. They're excited to be there. They're excited of what's happening there. So it's, several days of just pure joy.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. You will wait in line.
Right.
You will wait in line there. Lots of lines. Matter of fact, that's when we started doing our line selfies.
Right.
Like, okay, we're in another line selfie. But it's Disney. You expect to wait in line. That's what you do as a Disney fan. You wait in line, whether it's at the parks, no matter where you are. You're waiting in line. But a lot of times the payoff is very much worth it. Another thing I forgot to mention is the shopping there. They put out collectibles. That's one of the lines. Some people go just to get these collectibles that just come out. They're limited edition, just come out for this event, and they forget the panels. They're just going to get those things, and whether they're keeping it for themselves or whether they're pawning them off, whatever, or one of each, one to keep, one to sell, whatever. But that's another thing. There are fast passes to get cuts into some of these things as well. We'll discuss more of that as we go on and get closer to 2019. But we can't recommend it enough. You should do this thing. It's really, really, really cool.
And if you, even with the lines, if you prepare for them, that's where we were doing a lot of our social media and getting caught up on things that we weren't necessarily in a line for something else, and like I mentioned before, the cosplay, and people are really proud of their work, as they should be. So you really can interact with people in the line as well. Sometimes the lines are sitting. So, there's, that shouldn't be a deterrent.
And a lot of lines you can go and like if you're waiting for the parade or something at the parks, have one person wait and the other person can go explore, and then you switch off.
Right.
Because yes, the big panel line can sometimes be a couple hours waiting there to get in. But again, we'll go over more of that later on, but believe me, this is so worth it. And if you have any questions about it, as experienced people who have been to a D23 Expo, please contact us. You can find us at Twitter, at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook and Instagram, at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And of course, you can email us, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com. Happy to answer any of your questions about it. If you're on the fence about it, we will push you to the right side of that fence. Which is to go, by the way.
Exactly.
Okay, that's it for D23 Expo for this week. But let's get quickly. We're moving on. It's a long segment, but let's get quickly. Was kind of a slow week for Disney Stories, surprisingly, outside of the D23 Expo. But there are a couple out there that I want to get to. And we got to start at something I don't usually like to go necessarily a negative story, but this needs to be something that's talked about. Disney put an indefinite hold on the plans for a new luxury hotel at the Disneyland Resort this week. They were really excited about this thing. It was going to be a 700-room property. They had bargained. Well, the deal with this is they had bargained a few years back a $267 million tax rebate with the city to do this. Disney decided to move it about 1,000 feet, move more into the downtown Disneyland area. Because of that, the city council used a loophole and had kind of retracted that rebate. Right now, just to explain this a little bit, I'm not going to get political with this because I don't ever want to get political on the show, but just to explain what's going on. The city council in Anaheim is not, for the first time in 60 years, not exactly Disney friendly. So there's kind of a little tug of war going on both sides. So I'm not going to say anything more about that. No matter what side you're on, I'm just going to let you know that there is an election in November. So no matter what you decide on that, it could be helped on November, one way or the other, whichever side you're on. So I'm just going to move past that, but just wanted to let you know that that's going on right now. More happier news. Disneyland Paris, Cinemagique is returning to Disneyland Paris.
So exciting.
If you've never been to Disneyland Paris, Cinemagique is a really cool show. It's the big theater. It's kind of a live action film effect thing where these characters are kind of going through different genres of film. It stars Martin Short and Julie Delpy. They take viewers to various films, movie moments. It's going to return. It's been closed since March 2017, where they've been housing the new Marvel Superheroes United show that debuted in June of this year.
Right.
That's ramping up here in November, and that's when this show will return. And we plan at least until March. We don't know what's going to happen in March 2019 after that. But it's I know it's been there since Disneyland Paris opened, and it was like one of the great shows, and I know we saw it and we really enjoyed it.
Right. And we lucked out that we were able to sit in a great location. I don't know if you remember the last time we saw it, we were actually sitting next to the family of the day, which, at the parks.
Yes, those were okay seats.
Yeah, they got to go to every show and got to have the best seating that was reserved for them. And we were sitting right next to them. We didn't know it till we started talking to them. But yeah, it is a great show. And I know following, a lot of people on Twitter that, are in Europe, they're thrilled about it too. So, yay.
Very cool. Very cool. It's a really cool experience out there if you happen to be going to Disneyland Paris coming up here this winter or spring. A couple of Disney movie notes. Tessa Thompson has been tabbed to play the lead role in the live-action Lady and the Tramp. So she's going to play Lady. Now, if you don't know who Tessa Thompson is right off the bat, you may know her. She was Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok. So she'll be playing Lady in this movie.
Wow.
She'll be voicing Lady. Justin Theroux is going to be playing opposite her as Tramp. That movie is going to be released, as we talked about last week, on Disney's new streaming service at some point in the future. So
nice.
That's very cool. And one more movie note. The live-action Mulan began production this week. Disney released a photo of, and I'm going to butcher her name, Liu Yifei. I hope that's right. But she looked great in this picture. They did a picture of her in a classic pose of Mulan holding a sword. She looked fierce as could be. They also shared a set photo later on in the week of what appears to be, it could be the reflection scene that everybody knows is the big reflection number near the beginning of the movie. That's what it looked like it might be. Movie also stars Donnie Yen, who you may know as Chirrut Imwe from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. He's going to be kind of a mentor for Mulan, is what they kind of say in the synopsis of the movie. And Jet Li is another famous name you may know. He is going to be the Emperor of China in this. So that movie is scheduled to hit theaters in March of 2020. So very cool.
Excellent.
Disney movie news coming out this week. But we've moved on, and we've already are 40 plus minutes into this show. So we need to get to our tips of the week. As you know, we always close out a show with tips for the parks, for Run Disney, for the cruise line, whatever, just Disney in general. And we always started off with ladies first, Michelle's tip of the week.
All right. Well, thank you. So this tip is for people who have not been to Disney World or haven't used their Fast Pass system. And I'm not going to get into too much details about that, but I just want to give a little tip. If you are going to Disney World and you are going to schedule your Fast Passes, you get to schedule 3 Fast Passes per day at one park, and then during the day you can, after you've used them, can start getting others. But one thing that you could do, because they're in 1 hour blocks, is book your first Fast Pass to be ending when you really want to go on that attraction. And then your second Fast Pass immediately after. And that way, especially if you have kids, you can go to 2 attractions fairly quickly. And then you'll have, your hour before your third Fast Pass starts. And that's where you can get into doing some other things, such as Sorcerers of the Magic Kingdom. And so there
one of our favorite things.
It is. It's so fun. And so you, for that, when you're entering the parks, you can go to the Firehouse on Main Street, and they will set you up. They'll hook you up with the cards that you need. But this is a great interactive game for kids and adults, because we do love it, where you get cards that can help you battle the evils, the villains. That are trying to take over Disney World. So I don't want to spoil too much about it, but it is a fun thing. You get a map, and you have your spell cards, and you go around and you do these little interactive activities, and that can really help give some activities before your next Fast Pass, and that can be done. It goes into different parts of the park. So that is an activity that you can use to, have some fun things to do if you're not necessarily wanting to go on another, standby line for waiting on your third Fast Pass.
Yeah, it's also great if you've, say you've done Magic Kingdom a couple days and maybe you're looking for something else to do. You've done most of the rides and just kind of want to still be in the park. Maybe you have a reservation for dinner later or whatever. Something you can do out there. And they do have have different levels too. By the way, there's like a beginner, there's an intermediate, and I think there's even an advanced level of this. So after you've gone through the beginner one, you know, if you've gotten a few cards, you can kind of step it up to the next level. It becomes a little tougher. You kind of got to, you know, the beginner level is pretty much you just hold up any card and it works. You know?
Right.
But the intermediate level, you got to kind of think about what cards you're doing.
Right.
There's a little more strategy involved.
Exactly. And it's all free. You know, you get your magic band scanned, and that's what really, you know, takes over the activation of all this. And every day after that you go in the park, you can get another set of cards. Mm-hmm. Again, it's all free, so it's a great activity. So anyways, that's a tip.
Yeah.
Fast passes and filler.
Very cool. All cool stuff and stuff that we love, especially when we're at the Walt Disney World Resort. I'm going to talk very quickly about something very simple here, but at least it seems simple, but I'm always amazed. Whenever we go to, I'm just going to talk about the Disneyland Resort. When we go there and when you walk in, you go through security there, and there are the ticket booths. And we're always amazed at how many people are there in line. They waited till they got there, and they're purchasing their tickets. The line is always crazy long, and it's shocking to us. Really, people. If you're planning on going, even if you're just going, deciding that day you want to go, purchase your tickets ahead of time. Go online, get them ahead of time, and really it'll cut out so much of your day to not have to go to these ticket booths when you get in there.
Yes, and you're right. It is a long line, and it takes a while.
Yeah, and plus, you know, there's you can purchase them online. If you're staying in the area at a Good Neighbor hotel, you can purchase at a lot of these hotels. So you don't need, if you want to, you know, do that before you get there. When you check in, just say, hey, we're going tomorrow. Can we purchase our passes there? You can, like I said, there's so many different ways. Also, when you're purchasing ahead of time, there's a lot of places where you can get discounts on these tickets. You know, you're not going to get a discount, most likely, when you're actually going to the Disneyland park. But however, if you go through AAA, if you go through Costco, sometimes at the supermarkets like Vons or Safeway, they have discounted passes there. Right now, just, you know, for the next couple weeks through September 3rd, we talked about this at a prior episode. If you know someone who is an annual pass holder, or if someone in your family is an annual pass holder, they can purchase 2 one-day tickets at a discount depending on what day you're going. It's a different discounted rate, but it's a discount off of what the tickets are normally. There's lots of different ways to purchase these tickets. You can also, if you're going, say you're coming from a different area and you're staying for 3 days or something, if you're going to get 3-day tickets, let know that a 3+ day ticket will get you one magic morning at the Disneyland park, which is kind of like, even if you're not staying at a Disney resort hotel, you get to go in an hour before everybody else does, or before a rope drop, and take advantage of, and believe me, it's a huge advantage, especially when you're going to Disneyland. Those are at Disneyland Park on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays if you're planning your trip around that. That's for one day if you do that. You can also purchase what's called the SoCal City Pass if you're going to do like if you're not just doing Disneyland, say you want to come down to a San Diego area in particular, they do, when you buy that pass, you get a 3-day park hopper ticket, which goes both to the Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure Park, but you also get a day at Legoland and a day at SeaWorld.
Nice.
So if you want to kind of extend your vacation, do some other things around, you can kind of do that. And that also gives you the same magic morning if you purchase that pass. And it is at a discounted rate over standard ticket rates. Another thing you might want to think about doing if you are purchasing, especially some of these tickets that are 3 days plus, and you're considering maybe should I do an annual pass? Well, if you're going on a date that might be a blackout date for the annual pass you're thinking about, buy the ticket ahead of time. You can go in with that ticket that day, and as long as before that ticket is run out, if you go to any of the booths there, and now I'm talking about going to the booths, but you go later in the day when there's less people in line at that booth, you can turn that ticket, and it'll be that amount of money you paid for that ticket will be accounted to your annual pass. You can turn it into an annual pass, and that way you went through the blackout date, but you also got your annual pass that may have not been necessarily good for that time. So it also gives you a chance to consider it. So anyways, try and find different ways. Don't walk up there with nothing in your hand. You know, it just really will benefit you and save you so much time if you just purchase your tickets ahead of time in different ways, and it could end up saving you money.
Exactly.
So that's it for this episode of the Hyperion Adventure Podcast. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we're going to have a very interesting conversation.
Right. Very excited.
We're going to talk about Disney parks with disabilities with Gray Hauser, who wrote a cool article that we read not recently for Monorail News.
Right.
Actually, it's about something that we talk about when we have a son with Down syndrome. We may hear him in the background occasionally here. You hear about other disabilities, autism especially, but you don't hear about in the hearing impaired. You don't hear so much with the visually impaired.
Right.
And Gray has gone through this, so he's going to tell us what it's like and how Disney goes and helps people with a vision disability.
That I'm really looking forward to that as well, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will probably really be thrilled to hear some of his great stories too.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to that. We'll also be recapping the Chalk Walk because we're going to be up there next week. That's next weekend, the Chalk Walk. So, by the way, because of that, we're going to be up there. Probably do the park a little bit afterwards. Our episode normally drops around 2 p.m. or so, usually on Sundays. It might be a little bit later, a couple hours later next week, but it'll still be out on Sunday, and it'll still get out there to you. And if you subscribe to us, you'll know exactly when it comes out. So, if you want to contact us, I've already given these out, but I always like to give these out at the end. At Hyperion Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. On the web, you can leave us a comment, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com, and of course, you can email us, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com. And please, we really want to know who you people are that really helped us out. We want to know who our OG Hyperion adventurers were, the people that started us off, because next week we're announcing something that we believe is going to expand our listenership, but we want to give you guys credit for being there from day one or from ground floor or, just the first few months of this show. We really we love all our Hyperion adventurers, but especially you OG Hyperion adventurers that started us off.
Right. So please let us know. We really want to be able to, personally thank you for that. And also to give us any feedback or any requests. Just to say hi. Absolutely.
We love it. We love hearing from all our listeners. Interactive show. We want to share with everybody. If you have a tip you want to give out, we'd be happy to share that with our listeners as well. Matter of fact, there may be an episode coming up where I'm just going to solicit listener tips and just kind of go through it at some point. We'll talk about that later, much in the future. But anyway, thank you for finding us today. You can find us in the future on SoundCloud and on Stitcher. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and Google Play Music. And please, please, please tell your friends about us. And if you get a chance, it's really quick. Just give us a quick little review. It helps somebody out there that may not know anything about us to tell them, hey, this might be a podcast you want to listen to. And we really appreciate if you do that. So
thank
you very much. Thanks again for another edition of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. Can't wait to talk with you again next week. And until that time, please have another magical week.
Goodbye.